In this lesson, I'm going to be using markers and pens to create values in the image of the Starry Night. When you are choosing pens, it's nice to have a variety of sizes or textures. So if you have 0.7s, those are generally your pretty fine pens, but they also come in ultra fine. So see if you can find some of those smaller tips to use on your marks. When you are starting with an artwork where you're just going to be doing black and white, it's nice to start with kind of your darkest areas and then work your way to some of the lighter areas, because you can always make things darker, but you can't really make your lighter areas any lighter once you put the material on there. So it's kind of nice to start dark and then try to work your way lighter, and then work backwards if you need to a little bit to make your darker areas a little darker if you need to. But if you start light and you accidentally go too dark, you can't really fix it. So there's not a way to change that once you do it. So when you're using pen to create dark values, I'm going to just zoom in here a little closer. You want to think about the direction of your pen stroke, of your, not your brush, your pen. And even though your goal is to make very, very dark values, that is almost to color it in solid black, you don't just want to scribble color, scribble color, scribble color. If you do that, more than likely your artwork will show that as your process, and it won't really create a sense of purpose in your motions, in your movement of your pen, and that will show up in your final artwork. So it's best to sort of create smaller little sections where all of your pen marks that you're doing go together, or kind of create a sense together of what it's supposed to look like. So you can color in solidly, but you want to do so using shorter pen marks that may create those very, very dark solid values. Or you can also consider using some different pen techniques to show value in your work. So for example, one way of filling in with black in an artwork is to do something called hatch marks, which is just a series of straight lines parallel to each other and very close together. These are very close hatch marks, creates almost a solid. Another kind of mark is a cross hatch mark. So that's where you do very, very solid lines like this, and then you cross, you do another set of solid lines going a different direction. And for cross hatch marks, you can actually change your direction several times. And the more you layer up, the darker that's going to be. Okay, that'd be cross hatch. And both of these, hatch and cross hatch, you can space those lines out to create differences in values. So you notice that this is very dark, this is much lighter, both of these are cross hatch, this is pretty dark, this is much lighter, both of these are hatch. There's also marks called squiggle, where you just scribble with your pen, usually in loop-de-loops or zigzags. And then you can also do this bigger, where you're leaving more white space. This is also another type of scribble mark. And then there are things called contour lines, which is where you're doing kind of a series of hatch marks, but instead of straight lines, they're curved lines. And for organic shapes, like this tree that I'm doing, makes the most sense, curves. And they can go kind of in multiple directions if you want. These are called contour lines because they sort of show the curve or the contour or the shape All those words are interchangeable of the object that you're drawing. And another kind is stipple. This is one that will take a long time to complete and is best used for small artworks. But this is where, if I zoom in really close here, you will see I'm creating little tiny dots as I'm picking up my pen. And if I space these out far enough, they will create different values. So these are all different techniques that you can use. And I will be using many of these as I start filling in my tree. As I fill in the whole artwork. This particular tree, though, I'm going to probably go back in and color quite dark because this is our focal point for this artwork. So this will all be kind of filled in very dark. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and work on that a little bit. But you are more than welcome to experiment and try any of these techniques on your artwork.